and protective equipment. I've got so much trash to take out. Make so much trash. Right. You know, really all I'm doing is covering up bad hair day. Well, actually, while I'm preparing all of these things, I don't want any hairs or anything dropping into it. Or bunny fur. So if I'm going to start messing around with wet silicone, well actually even cured silicone, the dust just gets sucked off of whatever I'm wearing. Dust, bunny fur, hairs, it all gets sucked off and attracted to the silicone. So I try and work covered up all the time. Right, okay, what have I got to do today? Show you what I'm working on today. So I have a batch here of Medusae that I have to prepare some finishing work. They've just been trimmed from coming out the mold. And now I have to do final inspection and any touch-ups that need to be done. So this is just one batch. I have another batch to do. So this is the first batch I've got to get out the door this weekend. I'm talking to myself while working, which is normal for me. I'm always talking to myself. But normally if I'm doing a live stream, say on Reddit or directly on Facebook or directly on YouTube to all the channels separately, I can see the comments and I can interact. But today, I can't see any comments. I've kind of given up with that for the time being because I just need to focus on my work without having to repeat myself all the time about what I'm making. I tend to find that people come into the stream every 20 minutes and ask the same question, and it's rather distracting for me because, you know, there are other viewers as well who've just answered the same question. So yeah, there's that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just making a bit of room here before I start. Just, you know, my tool's always falling off this stand. It's kind of necessary and useless at the same time. So anyway, I'm used to talking to myself. It's not a big deal. I'm alone in the studio most days, 16 hours a day. And for the last few weeks, I've been putting out my first batch of these inventions. They're not traditional sex toys. And it required so much development work. My kitchen is completely overtaken by random machines that I'm constantly fixing, and it's all necessary to make the kind of product I'm making, because unlike a standard sex toy, mine is a surface engineered piece of art. So these offcuts of silicone, I mean, it's pointless me cleaning it up because I'm just going to create more anyway, but so these are just the trimmings and offcuts from the mold. Yeah, I got these foil sheets so that when the light is reflecting down and it comes up from underneath, I can see through the toys with a bit more light. I need lupe glasses or something. I think they're called lupe glasses. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. With the lens on them and the little LED lights so that I can see into the black hole. And the funny thing is, I have a complete geek side of me when it comes to surgery and medicine and anatomy, which is one of the reasons why I developed this toy. And as a result of my continuous study of medicine and anatomy and just general geekiness, I've sort of intuitively picked out the skills and tools I need to make this device, which is really funny because most of what I'm doing is actually using surgical tools and surgical techniques, which is really funny. It's like I'm making sex toys, but I'm using surgical tools, which, you know, it actually makes sense because what I'm doing is I'm creating a second skin, and skin is an elastin. It's a ratio of matrix and elastic components, and silicone mimics that. So the best tools to use with silicone are the surgical tools. It makes sense, right? So anyway, I've put these foils down so that I've got maximum light coming in to reflect back. And here's my right. Just put that down there. Oh my god, I have to sweep the floor. It's covered in silicone bits and stuff. So what I first need to do is each one of these, which I'll show you in a minute, I need to do a final inspection, check for any imperfections, and I was trimming and debulking yesterday, so in the evening I was debulking some of these because some of them were too thick, which inhibited their elasticity. So I was using my carving, sculpting tools to debulk them. So, yeah, you can see that. Ooh, it's just about, yeah, it's pretty sharp. I stabbed myself in the finger and thumb a few times. Actually, that looks pretty awful. I tend to find that the wounds on my hands don't heal very fast because I'm always wearing gloves and wiping things down in alcohol, and my hands just suffer for it. They're all covered in marks and dermatitis and everything. So I'm normally wearing gloves all the time whenever I mix silicone. So I'll actually have to mix some shortly. But what I'll do is I'll do a final inspection on some of these now, and then I'll go get the silicone ready for any touch-up. Oh my god, my arse is sore. I was sitting on this standy-uppy stool and it's actually really hard and I've bruised my arse. Wow. Hang on, this is not comfortable today. I think I need a flat stool. Oh dear. I'm gonna have to get a flat stool shortly because, wow, this hurts. I can't sit down. I didn't even know. Oh, this is not good. I don't know what to do about that. I need one of those like saddle chairs. That's what I need. I've got this standy uppy stool which is like a bench, just like a roll, and oh, my arse is killing me. Okay, okay, let's just start with this, shall we? So, final inspection. I've been working with this in like covered protective gear, and there are still bunny furs getting trapped onto these things, so I'll have to wash them to get rid of it. I have bunnies and they never come down here, but it always tracks off my clothes, so I always have to keep covered up. And yet it's still got fur on it, so I'll have to wash them. Right, I'm just going to make a final check. Where are my micro shears? Oh, not this again, please. I lost them yesterday because they're so tiny, they got swept up into the trash. Look at this. These are 5mm blades, they're extremely sharp. I'm just going to go in, and any edges I'm going to take off. If I didn't do them properly before, I have to do them now. This is not so. So the edges are just from the mold joins, where the silicone seeps into the join and creates a little membrane of flashing that I have to trim out and smooth over. And if the mold is a imperfect fit, then there's a bigger gap and there's more flashing. So after this first batch, I'll be looking at correcting some of these mold tolerances to make things better with less work for me to do afterwards. Really need LEDs on my glasses. I can't see inside very well. Okay, let's see if I can. It's really hard for me to see. Okay. I'm not wearing gloves just yet because I only wear the gloves to protect me from the chemicals that cause me dermatitis. And then when I'm wearing gloves, I have to wear a mask as well because I'm always touching my face and it gets on my face, and I've got a patch of dermatitis appearing again. It never truly goes away because I have such a sensitivity now to working with silicone, because I'm working with it every day, that my body just reacts. It's like it smells the silicone, which doesn't smell of anything, and then just goes, I'm going away, I'm leaving you. My face just wants to walk away. So this process at the moment is really slow. I'm not very fast with it, and that's okay for the time being because I'm on a learning curve still with scaling up from doing all of my development work and prototypes. And I enjoy it anyway. It's not a big deal, but because it's so slow, I've been putting in so many hours every day, like 16 hours a day, that I'm just exhausted at the end of the day. And yeah, and I don't really get a chance to wind down. I'm just like ready to hit the bed. And so then what I normally do is I'm normally on YouTube watching my strange, geeky habit things just for relaxation. I'll watch a surgery or an autopsy or something weird. And I've just gotten bored of it, so I found something else for the time being that's taken my interest and sends me to sleep, and it's dog grooming. Watching these poor dogs get groomed, and I'm talking about like dogs that are severely messed up with really bad fur and they've been neglected and there's just pus leaking out of every orifice. It's really bad, really sad. And the dog groomers doing this like incredible job of transforming the dog from a matted mutt and into, you know, he's recovering, he's got a chance to heal. And it's really sad, and at the same time I find it really relaxing. And I didn't know that this was even a thing, like people have to get their dogs groomed regularly, or else they just become these matted mutts. I suppose it makes sense because I have bunnies and they need grooming regularly, otherwise they get matted butts. Its poor little pom-pom tail, and it's all kind of stuck with matted fur in his bits. So I regularly have to groom my bunny's butts, and they love it actually. He gets a bit of a tail stiffy when I do it, and she does the opposite. She just, you know, droops and lolls. So she loves it, and he gets a tail stiffy. His tail goes up like that when I'm grooming his butt. I should put that on YouTube, shouldn't I? Bunny grooming. I'm not a professional bunny groomer. I don't think it would really help anyone. It would just be for entertainment, really. It's just funny. But they love it. It's like they actually need 20 minutes of personal attention every day. Otherwise, just don't have bunnies. If you can't give them the personal attention, don't have them. Because I'm just going to see if I can see through this. Or if you can see through this. Let's see. Oh yeah. So this opens up. Right. Where am I going to have to touch this up, if anywhere? This is a pretty good version. You can see it's thin. It's very stretchy. It's like a cup. So there's a bit of air suction, squishy, when it goes over the vulva. Makes some interesting noises. And this one is the smaller insert for pre-vaginal deliveries. It's very thin and flexible, and when it's lubed up, obviously it's a bit grippy now, so you know, I'm not going to really mess around with it. But yeah, the idea is to protect a woman from the vulvodynia pain, that burning ring of fire from the tissue that's easily sloughed and suffers with micro tears as a result of weakness in the tissue. So it causes women, vulvodynia and vaginismus cause women a lot of pain during sex, and I decided to invent this device to provide a workaround and a protective barrier to avoid that issue. And there's different size inserts which you'll see later, but I'm just doing my best right now to prepare them for any touch-ups. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of these to do. Ow, now. Ow. Oh my God. I might have to change this chair because my butt's going to be so sore. So once I've trimmed this down, which I'm just checking what I've done. It doesn't need much trimming, but I had to debulk some areas where there were some drips or blobs of silicone, and Debulking is really like where it ended up just a little bit too thick. And so I have to take the thinness down a bit. If it's a little bit too thick anywhere, then it's not, it loses its elasticity. It becomes too thick to stretch, you know, and too uncomfortable. I can feel a real thick bump there, so let's see if I can trim into that. I mean, it looks like I'm butchering the silicone, but I can smooth all of this off afterwards and touch it in with a nice metallic coat of silicone. So the ones I'm dealing with now, they're all the same colour palette. This colour palette's called Alien. This colour palette's Alien, and you can see there's all this lacing. It's a mix of indigos, blues, silver and black. So it comes out this kind of laced alien colour. So that's my palette, and they all come out different depending on how I've built them up or injected them. So no two of them are really the same. They're all pieces of individual artwork, and unlike pouring anything else in silicone, these have to be like skillfully made. So there's no fast way of producing these, and which is not the goal. I don't want to mass produce these ever. If the demand turns out that I really need to make things faster, then I will scale up. I'll just employ more people, which I plan to do, because I don't want to work on my own anymore. I feel like I need help. I'm just talking to myself all the time. It's not crazy making, but I think I could do with some interaction here. I need an assistant. I need an assistant that can go around and clean up after me, because I am so messy. But I suppose that's been out of necessity because I'm doing everything on my own, and I just don't have the time to keep up with all the housekeeping. I would say my turnaround at the moment for these toys is about 4 weeks, which seems like a pretty long time, but I wait for enough of one colour to make in one batch, and I've got 5 different colour schemes, 5 different palettes, and then there's the moulding procedure itself, which takes a lot of time. Usually, let me see, I reckon it takes about 2 hours per Medusa to make one, and maybe that will get less with time as I develop better techniques or better tools and machinery to guarantee the quality, maybe. So that's what I'm looking to bring it down from. I'm looking to bring it down from 2 hours per Medusa and a 4-week turnaround, because I'm working with different colour batches. You know, it'd be good if I could get the turnaround to like within 10 days. Right now, I'm still on a learning curve, and it seems impossible right now. But because this is so new, I mean, this hasn't been done before, I'm not really expecting there to be a huge amount of sales, even though at the moment I feel like I'm kind of overwhelmed. Probably spend more than 2 hours at this stage, but 2 hours is reasonable, I think, for one Medusa, because there is so much skill that goes into it. It's never going to be an automated process. If it's automated, it won't have the same look, attention to detail. I didn't want this to be just a functional device, because the aesthetics to me was part of the function. The art of sex is the function. Because if you can't engage in sex because you're mentally blocked or you have aversion because of pain, you're going to need a lot of courage to get over that. And what's the best incentive? To make you feel beautiful and sexy. That's the best incentive to get you to overcome painful, uncomfortable issues, right? So I wanted this to be the art of sex. That's really cool, actually. The art of sex. You know, for women to regain their self-loving, if they've lost it over the years from, you know, abandonment, neglect. And it happens to most of us at some point in our lives, but no one addresses it. No one hears us. They give us labels, but it's like the labels are there to categorize us and then say, oh yeah, we know what it is now. It's dyspareunia, dyspareunia, and yeah, that's what it is. Okay, bye. Not interested in helping because we can't really help because I don't really know what's causing it, but there's a label for it anyway. So, bye. But now what do you do? You got a diagnosis, but now what do you do? It's like being labelled autistic. Oh, you're autistic, so, oh yeah, you might have a few struggles with this, that and the other, but there you go, bye. And you're left on your own to sort it out and figure out what the hell all of it means. I'm autistic, by the way. I didn't even know it was a thing, like 3 years ago. I didn't even know what autism was. And partly because of the bad information that's out there, I assumed, like everyone else, autism meant that you were just like incapable of communicating. I didn't realise there was a whole spectrum of autism that can lead to all kinds of difficulties in social environments, and not just difficulties in social environments, but for those of us who are really adaptable and really smart in different ways, we figure out workarounds to work with it. And we don't realise there's even a problem because we're so used to being in denial that this isn't who we are and we're just trying to fit in. We don't realise how much stress we're putting ourselves through just to try and fit in. Like an inordinate amount of stress to fit in and be like everyone else, and putting on this act as though you're acting every day and you're preparing a script of what to say every day for every situation. And it's mentally exhausting and stressful and creates lots of anxiety and gives you a pathological avoidance of situations that you know are going to be stressful, so you pathologically start avoiding certain things. And people interpret your behaviour as weird, and then you get bullied and mobbed for it. And you don't know why, and you try harder to fit in, but nothing's working, and then you break down. And the doctors say, it's adjustment syndrome, it's burnout. There's nothing we can do. Just give it time. Take time off work. But I need money. Well, you've had a mental breakdown, you're no good to anyone, so you can't work, so Yeah, why don't you just go to this mental retreat and take time out? That's literally what happened to me, actually. But I couldn't. I had responsibilities and rent to pay, more stress on top of what I was feeling. And then somehow I discovered I was autistic, and the doctor actually suggested to me, he said, I think you have Asperger's syndrome. And he was an Austrian doctor, and that's, you know, it's more normalized for them to use the German word Asperger's or whatever. And like apparently that's not used now because it's seen as discriminatory or whatever. But that was the first I heard of it, and I was like, Asperger's? So I did my Google search and thought, holy shit, that fits me. I'm a weirdo. Oh. And then I went through the phases of discovery of being a weirdo. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I'm actually good with being weird. I'm really happy with being weird because now I'm like, okay, I don't have to fit in. I can just be myself. Except that other people don't like it, and they eventually push me out. They eventually just make it too difficult for me to survive with them. So I always wondered why I was fired from every job I had and why people found me irritating and annoying. I can't change my personality. I am irritating and annoying. But after all of this self-discovery and learning where the hell I am denying myself, suppressing myself and hurting myself by trying to be like everyone else and acting the act and walking the walk of being like everyone else, it was harming me and burning my brain. So I took time out, and I've been alone for 3 years now, just coming to terms with who I am, and now I love it because I realise that being weird has given me gifts. I think weirdly, I think differently about things, and that's how I invented this and lots of other designs like this. Like, see, these are, your sexuality is a big part of your personality, right? And if you are inhibited or you think you're asexual because you've developed an aversion because you can't enjoy it, so you deny it and you suppress it, that permeates to your whole personality. You turn into this avoidant personality that feels like you're less worthy in life than everyone else, that feels like you can't do anything, you can't even be with someone because you don't want to offer yourself as a broken substitute, a person that's on the shelf to anyone else. So you withdraw. And I spent my life realizing I missed out because I thought there was no way for me to be normal or fit in with anyone, let alone have a normal relationship. But anyway, my particular gifts, which I'm not going to go into today because that's a whole other story, enabled me to invent this device to help myself, and then I realized it could help others. So I have really gone over the top on trimming this. It's the first one it's the first set that I have done to this level of, what do you call it, work. And I wouldn't normally do this, I suppose, when I'm up to speed, but then I wouldn't be making the same mistakes, would I? No. Don't think I would be making the same mistakes. Don't stab yourself, Juliana, please. I think I stabbed myself so many times yesterday. one of my ex-colleagues I got in touch with, because one of the phases of self-discovery with autism, being on the autistic spectrum, is that you suddenly realise everyone you connected with in your life was weird as well. And you're like, that's weird, I wonder if they are autistic. So I reached out to them and I was like, hey, apparently I'm autistic. One of them was like, yeah, I know. What do you mean you know? Well, it makes sense to me. Like, no big deal. Like, what? And he said, yeah. He said, you always fit in with us, one of the nerds. And of course, I realised over time, in every work environment I'd been in, I loved being with the nerds, the super nerds, the people that were like so passionate about their one little thing that they became the best electronics person or the best coder, you know, in the company. And I was always interested in these super nerds. And I would spend time with them, and because I understood them, I felt like they were one of my tribe, whatever that tribe was, because I have special interests and I get super nerdy about things, but this is hidden from everyone, and in my work life no one knows about it. My hidden special interest, I suppose, is just the art of learning. I just love to learn, constantly learning. Learning makes me feel good, it rewards me, and it makes me feel more knowledgeable because you post-process it, and it's not just about regurgitating the same information, it's putting it in context with your experience of life and the things that you've seen and interpreting that in a new perspective. The knowledge gets interpreted into a new perspective of how to see the world and things around you. So my deep passion is learning and healing. Learning about things that make us grow and change and heal. So I've learned that in all my life, one of the things I used to use as a qualifier for making friends with people was, if you wanted to go to university, if you wanted to go to school, if you could go to school, what would you study? And if someone was like, oh, I wouldn't want to go back to school, I'd be like, okay, bye. But if someone was like, oh, if I had the money and I could just be a student and just study anything I wanted, then I would study this or that, or I would study to become I would be like, cool, besties, you know, because I understand what that passion is like, to get so engrossed in learning. It's like it has a different reward structure than just, I don't know, pleasing people or being socially acceptable. It's to always further the knowledge, it's to always have that curiosity and kind of braveness to explore, and spirit of adventure to try out something new where you've never been before. It's that, to me, that gets me really excited. So, I've been live streaming for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I need to build a campaign to help my business grow, and I need footage for it to show what I'm doing. So I figured if I just record everything on a stream, I might get something useful out of it. I started originally because I wanted to get people's feedback, people's reactions to what I was doing, because that was useful for navigating how I was going to develop this product, even though it was a concept I had so long and I wanted to do it anyway. Yeah, I've really gone over the top on debulking this because it doesn't really need it anymore. So, a bit more there. I don't really need to go to all of this effort, but I want to see everywhere that can go wrong so that I can correct in the next batch. So I know what corrections I have to make now, in particular to the assembly of the different components in the mold. I need to make them more fitted, more flush, so I have less of this flashing and debulking to do. Everything should be thin and stretchy, like this, right? See? So I'm not pulling it out like a huge amount. It can go a bit more than that, but I don't want to overstress it or anything. I don't know how I'm going to get in there and tidy that. Haha. That works. Yes. I'm figuring it out, man. Good job I got these curved scissors. These are tungsten carbide surgical scissors. Each of my scissors have different names and I can't remember them. But when I order them, I think these ones are called, well, these are capsulotomy scissors. They're for eye surgery, right? They're also called Karyevo scissors or Vannas scissors. Vannas is this thing, this setup, rather than the usual crossover setup. And this is I think it's called a I can't remember. Wilchester. It's a double curved scissors, so you can get in there and I rarely use straight cut scissors. In actual fact, I did have curved capsulotomy scissors, but unfortunately I think they got trashed because they got stuck and swept up in a bunch of silicone from the lab. So at this rate, I'm never going to get through more than 4 a day. So I'm going to have to speed up, but I'm learning. So there's that. Right, now, ouch. Oh, dear me. Oh, my ass hurts. I have to find a different stool. This is not good. So what I'm doing with this tool, I have 2 of these. The other one's out there in the cutting room, but this one's for the clean room stuff. And this is just burnishing off the silicone, taking the polish off it, so that when I put a new sealing agent when I coat the surface with a new sealing agent, it will mechanically adhere. Because if you clean cut the silicone, it's like a crystalline cut and nothing will bond to it, so you have to burnish everything off to get any layers, any painting to fully bond. So yeah, I can't have any clean surfaces when I paint. I have to burnish everything. And then I'll create sealed surfaces that, what's really cool is that this is the surface that comes out of a mold, right? And that can only be as shiny or glossy as the surface of the mold. And you think that one has to peel off the other. So if the mold is really shiny, the part is going to be really shiny. So on the inside, you can see that this is super shiny. This was exposed to the air, so it had a natural surface tension, where as it dried, the surface tension pulled more and more on itself, and it minimized all the curves, and it essentially sealed itself. So this glossy surface is the most hygienic surface, because bacteria can't penetrate into that, because the surface molecules all pulled themselves together into a tight, so there's no microporosity. If you was to look at this through a microscope, you'd see the surface would be like pitted and teared, even on the mold surface. So even though silicone is waterproof, those micro tears enable bacteria ingression into the surface, so the bacteria can actually live inside the sex toy. And this applies to any silicone or any sex toy. The bacteria can ingress even when it says it's waterproof. And for something that's so delicate as this, which has a huge amount of surface area to weight, I mean, it's really light, it's mostly surface engineering, I have to be really cognizant that the surface is a lot of opportunity for bacteria to ingress and invade. And by the same token, I will be providing the proper care instructions and care package with every product that goes out. But I have to educate people into this and let them know that this is like a symbiont. This is a part of you that you're obviously not going to share with anyone. I mean, sharing obviously in use, but not going to swap or anything. And it will degrade over time, probably faster than real other silicone toys, because there is so much more surface area compared to, you know, a phallic object when you think. For example, take this syringe, right? A dildo of this size or shape. No, actually, this is probably more like it, right? So a dildo of this size and shape would have a... Oh, crap. It would have a minimum of, you can see the measuring gauge on the side there. It would have a minimum of 150 mils of silicone in it. In actual fact, when I say a minimum, there's probably more silicone than that in there, because this would be like a perfect cylindrical phallic object. It would probably be more like 250 mils, which is the equivalent of about 300 grams. And these things, they don't weigh more than 150 grams at most, even with the largest insert, because it's all surface area, thin membranes. So the behavior of the silicone is different, because it's not like a thick cross-section that can't squish. It behaves completely differently, and it has to be treated almost like a different material, because it's using different properties. So, yeah. Stop buzzing. Ah, seriously. Damn it. So, and this is the first one that I've really started to burnish out of the whole batch. And I'm seeing areas where I can improve the mold process so that I can minimize this debulking. So for the first time I'm seeing it. When I made the prototype versions, I didn't have any of these problems because I was using a slightly different molding process and assembly process because the prototypes are a different thing. But it's like, okay, the prototype functions, now I've got to be able to scale up and produce every single item with the same quality of functionality and properties as the last one I pulled from. There can't be variation, you know? They will have to have the same kind of properties. So moving through that process is kind of difficult because, you know, I can't just create a prototype for everyone using the old prototype modes. I have to upgrade to consistent production quality molds. There's no difference in quality, it's just repeatability, you know? I don't want to have to treat every single item as a prototype, pull it from the mold and reassemble it. And that process took me longer than I expected. But I know that when this first one's done, it'll probably be a lot quicker on the rest. It's just not reasonable for me to spend 3 hours on every toy. It would make this a money-losing operation for me, and this has become my dedication now. This is what I'm living for now. I've decided I don't fit as an aerospace engineer into the patriarchal world. I just don't fit, and I don't care, and I don't want to fit. That burned me out when I was working for those industries. It's like 99% men, very uncomfortable atmosphere. It's very unforgiving. It's very unhuman and robotic, I think. And very discriminatory, very judgmental. Not very open-minded at all. Very dismissive, derisive. They're not open to free thinking. I can solve a problem using out-of-the-box thinking solutions, and I will be derided for it because that's not in line with the company's goals. But yeah, if you do this, people will be happier, and a happier team means that they'll all strive to the same goal. They'll have the same goal as you know. But monitoring people based on ROI, which is an industry standard of seeing how much money you can make out of a person. So each person has to represent a certain amount of income. Instead of what can you do to make this company a nice place to work so that people would be happy to come to work. and they want to work for you and they love you. I'm finding more and more debulking, which means I can probably adapt the mold a bit more. Where did my phone go? It's interesting. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna take off any more from in there, she says, and then takes more off. Yeah, I have to figure this out because this isn't going to be the same on all of them. I know that some of them are going to vary slightly because depending on how the insert got connected, if there was a slight, that's the problem. If there's a slight tolerance in twist or slippage in either way, that's why I have the inserts on a cross, so that if there's supposedly no angular, angular tolerance, which means that you've got walls that are thin on one side and thick on the other. And I'm trying to avoid that, and I'm trying to create more uniform walls. 2mm walls. It's hard. So let's just finish this. Let's just, because I've been messing around with this for too long. Well, I'll mix up some silicone in a minute and turn the heaters on to start preheating, and then I'll start painting these up, going through them one by one, and while one is being burnished, the others are curing, kind of thing. So hopefully once I've got this started it should be quicker. That's what I say every time, and then I end up spending half the day on it. It should only take me like a couple hours at the most, and I'm like, there's something else I can do. So one of the reasons I started doing this is obviously because this is a big problem of my own. Dyspareunia, vulvodynia, and vaginismus. They're all things that I suffer with. And it's been the script of my life, really. So if I've developed an aversion to intimacy and sharing intimacy with anyone, then I'll deny that and I'll say I'm asexual, just to sort of avoid the whole topic. But then I find that I don't fit in with the asexual crowd, because I'm like, hang on a minute, I do have a libido, but I only dream and fantasize of screwing with aliens, and aliens aren't real. So if I say my sexuality is geared towards aliens, where the hell am I? I'm not asexual anymore, am I? So there was a long period of questioning, self-questioning. So you could say on the LGBTQIAPK spectrum that I'm not lesbian, gay, bisexual or transgender, but I was definitely questioning, curious, queer. I classify myself as asexual, even though I don't believe that's true and I don't believe that's a thing. Because asexual was just a way for me to deny to myself and deny to other people without bringing the conversation up that I had an aversion to sex. And I had an aversion to sex because I was in so much difficulty with it. And I could be P in the pansexual thing because you screw anything, right? And for me, I'm only interested in aliens and monsters at night when I fantasize. And I'm thinking, okay, but they don't exist, so I must be pansexual then. K, kinks. Once again, I have a bit of an issue with that word because if you tell anyone you have a fetish or a kink, it's almost like an invitation that they can put onto you what their kink is, and it's like an exchange, right? Or I must be the only blow-up penguin in the world that likes to get on with other blow-up penguins, so there must be another blow-up penguin to be my soulmate. No. My kink is mine, and that's how I get off, and I don't want to share that with anyone. And if I find someone that makes me feel comfortable, open and trusting, then I might explore going outside of my kink or satisfying it and just getting rid of it, or just satisfying it and just, embracing more intimacy rather than none at all, which is what I'm in at the moment, none at all. So out of the whole LGBTQIAPK spectrum, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like so many labels, right? I could be Q, I, intersex. I could be intersex because, I have very masculine homologs, right? I think like a man, I behave like a man, I get on with men better than women for some reason, but I'm a woman who likes to be a girl, likes to be a little princess, but unfortunately that's not real life. So I could say I'm intersex. And A, so LGBTQIA, asexual. P, yeah, could say that. K, so yeah, I'm everything but the LGB. I could be everything outside the LGBT, QIA, PK. And that started making me think that the rainbow's wrong, that all this codification is irrelevant. It's just what you're happy with inside, and you don't need to stick a label on it, and you don't need to tell anyone else what that is. If you find someone that you can share with and you can trust and you can open up and share intimacy with, that's all that matters. They don't even know whether you are male or female. I actually prefer to keep that ambiguous. On my Facebook profile, I just put male. I don't use pronouns or anything. I just want to keep people confused. Because if you know me, and you know what I like talking about and what I like to learn about and engage with. But I'm not really into putting myself out there openly as a woman on Facebook to attract the attention of guys. And I think it's really funny that if you put yourself down as a male on Facebook, that suddenly you don't get all the love letters and the crap that comes along with being a woman predated on social media. So, because I don't appreciate it, because I don't care about anyone, and I only care about myself, really. I think that's the best way to be. Just be selfish, and if you find someone that you can share and trust and be open and honest with, then I'll care about someone, and then I might share intimacy, but just be selfish. That's cute. There's a little bubble in the neck. It's there. I'll have to fill it in, so I have to burnish it out so I can fill it in. But it's cute. It's like a little bubble. Oh well. Fill it in. So once I've burnished all of this, I'll set it aside and put it on the preheat and get it ready for painting. I think I've gone around it enough, but alright, let's do some here. Just going down the seam and make sure I can strengthen it. The rest I'll just trim off and smooth down. Scissors, I need the micro shears for this, where are they? This tiny little seam here, which you can hardly see. I'm just going to take it out. Then I'll wash these and prepare them for painting touch-ups. I love every one of my babies. I'm the alien midwife. I give birth to aliens. Alien eggs. Alien medusas. I call them medusas because they're based on the hydrostatic skeleton of a jellyfish, which is contractile and is ribbed with a hydrostatic skeleton, so that enables it to pop open. That is the same principle for all of the insects. They're all hollow, they're all thin, they will roll up like this. They roll up and then they pop open like this. Yeah. So anyway, you can roll them up. This one has a lot of trimming work to be done on it. Crap. So yeah, Medusa. It's the sexual phase of a jellyfish during its rebirth, when jellyfish are immortal and they live as polyps under the ocean, like a sea anemone, just a polyp, while it's sort of hibernating or just, you know. And then when it wants to reproduce, asexually or sexually, it turns into the Medusa, which is the way we know jellyfish are, the way they appeared that we are familiar with, you know. And they have 4 gonads, so there's 4 is my symbol of symmetry on these 4. So everything else in nature always seems to follow, you know, patterns of 5. Is it the Fibonacci sequence or something, you know, or prime numbers, you know, 3, 5 and that. But jellyfish are really odd because they have 4 things in them. So it's interesting because actually in Chinese culture 4 is a really unlucky number and you can die from number 4. People should kill their 4th child or something weird like that. So I don't know how number 4 became so significant, but it's kind of unusual that the oldest life on Earth, probably one of the oldest lives on Earth, the jellyfish, has 4 in its rotational symmetry, you know? It's interesting. So, how am I going to get in there? Ooh, I know. Oh, I should lube it before I stick in there, shouldn't I? Oh, yeah. Surgical tools. I had to buy these anal retractors to work on my Medusa. Getting that tool in there is not going to be easy. I really could do with, I tell you what, let's tighten that up. I really need LED glasses. I can't see into the black hole. I'm gonna get there. Oh. Maybe I'll be able to wash it first. Okay. I'm just gonna say that that is done for now, and I'll have to wash that one out. I'll just prepare the next one, which is a different style and a different shape bell. So I'll just prepare this one, and then once I've got 2 prepared and they're sitting in the heating boxes, I'll turn everything on and go mix up some silicone. So I'm taking off here too because I think it feels too thick to me. So I'll just take that off. And micro scissors. How did I lose them so quickly? Did I drop them? Ah. Where did they go? This is weird. Had them a second. Oh, they're so small. I really must buy a few of these because I keep losing them. Oh, crap. Get in there. I enjoy my work, even though I spend probably too long doing this. I put my entire heart and soul into this because I really want to make a difference. I really want to help people get unstuck from the situation they're in, because that has been the script of my life. I've been stuck all my life, and I feel quite sad that I've lost years that could have been. So I developed this solution after much experimentation and discomfort, because I obviously had to test things that were the right shape, right size, right smoothness, right stiffness. Oh boy, it was uncomfortable. But it was an interesting experience, because even though I was walking like a cowboy for 2 weeks, because obviously I suffer with discomfort anyway, on top of discomfort from experimentation and trying to get the anatomy of the Medusa right. I already had the concept in my brain of what I wanted to do. I just had to find what worked. So I was experimenting with different shapes and sizes, and I thought, well, this is going to cost me a lot to develop. Like it's literally like $800 for a drum of silicone. And I was going through this stuff, different viscosities, different strengths of silicone, different softness, and and it's expensive to buy a range, which I had to buy, and I had to buy all the mold making materials. So immediately I think I clocked up like $3,000 worth of just setting up my lab, which is really cheap actually, considering when most people start a business, they're probably investing like 50,000, and I did it with a few thousand, using my experiments on OnlyFans to fund the cash flow to get it off the ground, so I could start buying the silicone and building the machines I needed. And I didn't tell my husband about this. But OnlyFans wrote to me and they pulled some of my videos, and then they went and pulled some more of my videos because they started going through and checking where I'd been stuffing objects into myself to test them for size and shape and everything. And it was obviously uncomfortable, but I was just doing it anyway because I wanted to see what worked and what didn't work, and my anatomy, and figure out capacity and all that kind of stuff. And it was a laugh, like people were really laughing, and I was like, oh, I don't care, I'm getting the cash flow from it, aren't I? And they wrote to me and they like pulled my videos and gave me a warning: if you do this again, we'll delete your account. I didn't tell them that there were other videos there, but they slowly went through and passed them out, and then I got 3 warnings and loads of videos taken down by OnlyFans. And there's me, I'm already used to being taken down off YouTube for swimming videos. I run around in a swimsuit, and YouTube are like, we don't want you here because that's too sexy, and we're not a porn site, but the visitors that are checking out your content, they're all people that are searching for erotic porn stuff. They've all got a fetish for you, so instead of punishing them, we'll punish you. We'll block your videos, we'll take them down, we'll delete them. Oh, and we'll delete your channel. So that happened 18 months ago. They deleted my channel, like no warning. They just deleted I logged in one day and it was like, gone. You are banned from YouTube for community guidelines. And the only thing I could think of at the time was I was running around in plastic swimsuits because I like plastic, and they didn't like that because it's like fetish, and we don't have porn on our YouTube, but there's a load of guys jerking off to it. So yeah, punish the creator, that makes sense. So I was already used to that kind of codswallop, and when OnlyFans wrote to me, I was like, dude, society is so messed up. Like, a woman is not allowed to please herself or experiment because I don't know, men might get in trouble for it or blamed for it or something, so we have to delete you, ban you, pull your videos down because you're causing a problem for our men. It's ironic, really, because I think it was men that caused my entire problem in life. Well, bad men, abusers, in the wrong path of said abusers, which were all male, by the way. I mean, yeah, women can be abusers too, but the amount of damage I receive from phallic people And the interesting thing is, it turns me into a man-hater, but I realise it's not man-hating, it's phallophobia, fear of the, which is very awkward if you're hetero, right? It didn't turn me gay though, it didn't turn me lesbian, although I did explore that at one point, but it wasn't for me, didn't do it for me. I don't really think it's the sexuality thing either. I think it's the person. I'm either attracted to them or not, and if I'm not attracted to you, nothing can change that. I can't become attracted to you out of nothing. It has to be there first. And I think that's where I have made a lot of mess ups in life, because you focus in on the one person you think you're attracted to. And then at the end of a lot of investment, you realise they're wrong for you because they're an asshole. Don't do that. Ooh, this one needs a lot of debulking. Oh, crap. How am I going to do this? Let's carve it out. I hope this isn't the case for all Valva, because if that is, I give them all different names. This is Crinoid Bell, this is Crinoid Bell, and this is Valva Bell, Valva Bell. And this is all alien colour palette. And blimey, that's a lot of debulking. Yeah, I have to debulk it because these slumps and drips, which occur when the rotocaster breaks down on me, and then everything slumps into the middle, and I end up with this huge core plug of rubber which doesn't want to stretch anymore, and it becomes like all the other ouchie cock docks and, you know, ridiculous plugs that are just like, yeah, ridiculous. So this is a lot of debulking. I'm gonna have to, yeah, I'll just make sure that the rotocaster machine doesn't break down again, because this is ridiculous, the amount of silicone that's slumped into the mold here. Another thing I've learned though is the more silicone I put into a mold, the more it's likely to go wrong. The more I'm likely to have slumping and things like that. So I now measure everything I put in, and I have found that I can inject up to 100 mils per Medusa. So I'll know now that if I inject more than 100, there's likely to be debulking work to do and, you know, something wrong that I have to fix. There won't be anything wrong with the final product, but it's just extra work for me. So I've figured out now how to be alerted that there might be an issue. Wow, that is seriously a lot of debulking. Oh, bugger. Well, the interesting thing is, I hope I don't make this mistake again. I didn't mean to do this amount of debulking right now. I thought I'd done everything last night, but I realised I left out vulva. So I did all the crinoids. Anyway, as soon as I've done this one, I'll mix up some silicone and carry on doing the burnishing. Cool. I'm just trying to imagine how I could tell my mum about this. She always wanted me to be a doctor, and I couldn't do it because I was just phobic against biology. As soon as you start talking about blood and guts, I would pass out. And I mean, this happened a few times in school, so I was like, there's no way I'm becoming a doctor, right? But I'm grown up now, and all I can watch is surgery videos and autopsy videos and dead people and, you know, diseases and just nasty stuff. And I'm just fascinated with it because I'm fascinated with the disease mechanisms, the things that make us ill, and how disease manages to manifest itself and take hold. And so I've come up with my own theories and, you know, thoughts behind it, which I've journaled, I've documented, and I don't know if they'll ever be any use. Maybe I'll publish them one day. But imagine I'm trying to go back to my mum and say, yeah, I recovered from my mental illness, and the purpose of my life was to now make sex toys. I'm just trying to think how that would go down, because she's very conservative and anti-everything. She's anti-men, anti-everything, so I think it would probably destroy her. So maybe I won't ever admit to her, which is sad. It's not because I'm protecting myself, it's because I'm protecting her from herself, because she wouldn't be able to deal with it. So I feel like I have to keep secrets. I can't tell her my whole true self, because she would suffer for it more than I would, because I wouldn't care. Because I literally have no shame in saying I make sex toys, but obviously my approach and philosophy towards it is completely different. I had a mission to solve, and I felt like I was the only one that can do it. I probably am the only one that can do it, because I know so much about anatomy and having the experience of being a pain sufferer all my life, and knowing what that feels like just to be dismissed and derided by doctors. Also being a composites engineer and having advanced materials knowledge and knowing how materials can change their properties when you use them in different ways, just gave me the ideal skill set for being able to put this together. On top of that, I'm an artist, crazy artist that only likes to do clinical things. and engineering things. So my art is definitely not abstract. It's very accurate in its approach, whether it's fine art or illustrations. It's always kind of engineering based or science based or medicine based. I like painting anatomy in context of dance and athleticism. I basically like studying the extremes that human bodies can go to, even in the context of disease. I just sort of wonder what those mechanisms are. And it's also because I had a hip replacement, total hip replacement, and when I was 20, I did a dissertation at university. I did a thesis on stress transfer through a hip arthroplasty, and I concluded in this dissertation that hip prosthetics had to be redesigned with different materials, and I put it in my dissertation, and lo and behold, the design that I suggested is one that I'm wearing now. So my student dissertation was just a natural evolution in parallel to other scientific minds in engineering, and it came about, and that's what's in my hip now. It's a titanium stem, short stem, with a ceramic head and a high density polyethylene cup and a titanium cup acetabulum. So I've had my acetabulum bored out by a robot so that the center of the bore is repositioned, and when they plug the new ceramic head in it, it's been robotically positioned to be the new center of rotation for my hip, which now has a slightly different trochanter angle. You know, the trochanter of your hip, actually there's a ball, like two fists at this angle to, you know, and the center of this ball on my left side is slightly different now from the other side. So it has a slightly different funnel range of motion around it. And I was like, I had the hip replacement and I was like, oh no, my range of motion is different. Where can it go now? And I started thinking about my dissertation that I did in engineering about the hip replacement. And I started thinking, oh, you know what? They shouldn't make it out of titanium and mass produce it. They should 3D print them with composites. Because bone is a natural composite, right? It's got circumferential hoop stress type layers, like a tree ring, yeah? And it's got longitudinal fibers, and it's got trabecular bone on the inside, which is this spongy cancellous bone, which keeps it lightweight, so that you haven't got like heavy bones like a dinosaur or something. And I thought, oh, that's how I need to change it. And of course, when I went through my mental breakdown 3 years ago, I was convinced the titanium hip was poisoning me. So I was convinced I wanted this thing out and a new hip put in, which was composites. So I set about thinking about the redesign of my hip and approaching a German company about producing it for me. Luckily, I didn't need to go there because it wasn't my hip that was poisoning me. Oh, Oh, you know what? My feet are tingling because the seat is so hard. It's jamming into my nerves and blood flow and giving me numb feet. Honestly, I sound like such an old person. Like I must be complaining about my joints or something all the time. I'm just very conscious of my body and what it decides to do or not do. So, debulking. I know other people would be probably bored of this, like, why would you spend so much effort on this? But I find the whole process for this is just like art for me. It's like therapy, it's relaxing. And every single one of these pieces I put out is hopefully going to help someone, or at least start them on their path towards feeling better about themselves, or initiating the start towards searching for solutions and workarounds to their problems, which previously haven't existed. I mean, there are treatments out there, pelvic floor pain specialists. You can even have your vagina Botoxed, and you can have your vagina lasered. You can even have electrolysis on the inside of your vagina to try to, almost like acupuncture on the inside of your vagina, to release old scars and knotted muscles. But that process is extremely painful, and it's humiliating if you don't want to go there. If you don't care like me, you'll just plop your legs out in front of any doctor and just go ahead, fist away, do what you want to do. But I've been in so much discomfort my whole life. At that point, I didn't want any more, and I just had enough. Like, you really don't know what you're doing. I know what's wrong more than you do, so I'm gonna find a way myself. And the last time I went to a pelvic floor specialist to get some treatment, I got severely stoned in order to get through it. It was that painful. And there was other women in there recovering, and they were stoned as well. The doctor actually recommended it. She said it's the best pain relief and muscle relaxant you can use while we're doing the treatment. I've still got to go back actually and have more treatment, because the nervous wiring in my sacral plexus has been messed up. So, as a result of being a pain sufferer for so long, you could say I'm anal retentive and just over tight when I shouldn't be. And what actually happens behind it is that inhibition, that suppression, has become deeply ingrained in my autonomic system, and it can't be healed because it has to be reprogrammed through either pleasure, which is what this is all about, or through biofeedback, which this also does, or more traditional biofeedback, where they stick a sensory plug up me, and then they tell me to cough and squeeze and take a poo to control the green dot on the screen. And at the moment, mine is not working. Like, the joystick doesn't work because it goes the opposite way it's supposed to go. Apparently when I relax, my sphincters close up. I'm that uptight. I'm that anally retentive, right? So nothing wants to come out right now. So I'm on drugs that help me go to the toilet, which is just a band-aid to help me get through at the moment. But it's a difficult way of living because it means I can't go out in the world and not be paranoid about, needing to go to the toilet, being in severe pain, feeling dirty, blah, blah, blah. Because my parts don't function normally because they're programmatically, autonomically messed up. So it's all connected. this whole sexuality thing, autonomic nerves, sacral plexus, pudendal nerve, it's all connected. And if you're having bowel trouble, rectal trouble, you're likely to be having gynecological trouble as well. I'm a lot better now because I actually had surgery a couple of weeks ago, which was unexpected. They didn't see anything in the scans, in the CT scan, and I had an argument with the doctor because I saw something in the duodenum, like around my pancreas area, and he was arguing with me on the phone about this. Like, I'm not a radiologist, and you're not a radiologist. I can't read that. And I was like, but there's a hyperintensive region right there in the body of my pancreas. And he's like, it's not a lesion. I said, I didn't say lesion. I said region. And he said, but anyway, it's just your intestine. So guess what happened? 2 weeks ago, I had an emergency surgery and they removed an adenoma from the duodenum, which I told them was there and the radiologist didn't pick up. And it was 1.5 centimeters big, which is pretty big considering that was blocking the ducts to my pancreas and gallbladder and making me feel so ill. I was doing like Snickers poop. For a year I'd been doing Snickers poop with all different colours and bits and stuff in it because I wasn't absorbing my food. And and I spotted it on my own CT scan and had an argument about it with the doctor. And all the doctors, my primary and the gastroenterologist said the CT scan was normal, the radiologist said it was normal. But I know my body, I could feel it, I knew it was there, I knew where to look in the CT scan. And anyway, they just did a routine endoscopy and then they saw it and they were like, oh shit, it's quite big actually. Oh shit, it's a rare one. So it's a rare type of adenoma that shouldn't be there. It's normally elsewhere in the body. And it was causing the cancer marker to show in my blood. And they got rid of it. But now I have to go back for regular testing, regular checkups, because apparently it's a rare hereditary thing that can rear its ugly head again. And it's a pathway for cancer, so they have to keep an eye on it now. But I'm like, cool, I know my body. That's kind of rewarding. I know I just had a tumor removed 2 weeks ago, but I'm like so freaking proud of myself that I managed to get on top of it and get it seen to. As I swear, it's actually been 3 months of anxiety, I suppose, and extra stress, which has caused me not to be able to poop. And now the stress is gone and I'm finding it a bit easier, but maybe that's because I'm on medication to take whenever I need to. And it's not laxatives, because laxatives gives me pain, because laxatives cause the contractions that cause my pain, so I can't do that. So yeah, but I can't believe they removed a large tumour, and it was large because of the location it was in. 1.5 centimetres was enough to block that whole area up. I was waking up feeling like a pressure sensation there, you know, and the doctor poked me there and I threw up. How can that not be wrong? How can that be normal? So he didn't do anything, he didn't put it in my record, so I insisted to be referred to a specialist. And I got to the specialist and they were fully booked up. They couldn't see me because of the the pandemic backlog, where they weren't doing any non-essential surgeries, and so there was this backlog of people needing surgery, and I couldn't be seen for a whole month. And so in that month I got worse and I was suffering with more anxiety, obviously. And I was like, whatever it is, they're going to find it. They're going to fix it. They're going to find it. They're going to see when they go in what the hell is causing this blockage that I'm feeling and why I am so sick. So I was sick for a year, and I just had enough. So this is another thing. Sexuality being an important part of your personality, which I get it, it's the whole reason why you've got this LGBTQ spectrum, this whole rainbow, giving people validation and affirmation that they have an unrecognized sexuality or perversion or whatever it is, makes them feel part of society. Otherwise we feel excluded, right? So that's why they started codifying and giving all these labels out, instead of listening to us and trying to solve the problems. I mean, I was wondering if I was asexual or intersex, only got on with men, and you know, asexual, intersex, kink as a workaround for pain, pansexual as I had developed a complete aversion to sex, so I was only fantasizing about monsters and stuff, aliens. Where was I? I forget. I'm enjoying debulking too much. This carving rubber is actually... I won't be doing this on the final products. This is the first batch and I'm just kind of enjoying myself with it and talking to myself. So I went on Reddit the other day and I was streaming doing this work, and all of a sudden it got to the top of Reddit on the front page and I had 90,000 views. I was like, what's that? This is like, holy crap, there's so many viewers. And then the stream died because the phone died and it went viral for like 5 minutes and then it cut out. And I was paranoid at first. I thought, oh God, people are censoring me again. What did I say? Did I say something bad again? It was really funny, and when I finally fixed it and I got the stream back online using a different phone, I'd lost all the audience, and I was like, oh. I'm enjoying this. Who would have thought that sculpting rubber actually making these Medusas is a long process that has to be developed anyway. I mean, you can't just pour this into a mold and pull it out. That's obviously what's going on here. Is there's a lot of post-production, if you like, but before we even get to the mold stage, I had to create the sculptures and then make reproductions of the sculptures, because the originals will get destroyed in the process of making a mold from them because they're delicate, they're really fragile. So even if I'm using permanent polymer clays, because the thinness of the sculptures is so fragile, like petals of a flower, I know that when I create a mold, I'm going to destroy the original. There's no way around it. So I have to reproduce the, stab my thumb again. I have to reproduce the originals. And then I have to make submasters so that I never lose the quality of detail on the originals. So then I transfer that to submasters. And then from that, I make flexible molds, and then I make a prototype product. And then from that, if it all goes well, I make a production mold. So it's like a 5-step process per product. And the product requires several components in the mode. So the mold assembly is actually like 5 pieces that go together that have to be assembled with consistent interchangeable inserts. So I had to standardize the insert, and that basically meant standardizing the vestibulum. So this area in the vagina at the entrance is called the vestibulum, the vestibule, right? So this area here, that's the pit, that sort of, I have to trim out that hymen, yeah? I've standardized it for all the molds so that when I plug the insert in, it's the same vestibule, the same vestibular. And this area of the vagina is sometimes women get what's called vestibulitis, which is pain, inflammation around this area here, this vestibular area, which is very fibrous tissue, very hard, very full of nerves. And there's a problem with that area because you can't just treat it. They often Botox it, they often numb the whole area so that women don't feel pain if they've got vestibulitis or a problem down there, chronic. And then vulvodynia is the pain on this area, right? So if you have vulvodynia, it's like a ring of fire after intercourse. And it's because these sensitive tissues microtear easily, slough easily. And then vaginismus is this area where the plug goes in. And this stays stationary and pops open the vagina, pushes it open so that when the man goes in, the idea is that he gets sensation because it's ribbed and it still sort of grabs him. But this stays stationary and she can enjoy the feeling of fullness and have vaginal stimulation because it will swell, it will palpate, without the friction that causes the sloughing and micro tears to the tissue. So one device, or I should say one product with different mantles and different inserts solves many problems all in one go. Or it doesn't solve, it just works around. Because as yet, there isn't really a go-to solution. And hopefully, me just putting this product out there and getting the response that I've had will hopefully raise the issue to get more funding for research and solutions put towards this area of women's wellness. I mean, it just so happens if you've got jiggly bits that are hanging out and you see a doctor, they can fix it. It's like, oh, you have erectile dysfunction? Okay, here's a pill. But because our parts are unseen and they don't have the experience of feeling our pain, then we get dismissed. And that leads to us feeling invalidated, unheard, and then we stop speaking up. And it changes your whole personality, it erodes everything from there. So, I just want to get the conversation out in the open and get people coming forward and understanding the range of problems that are not being dealt with, they're being underserved. Another problem is dyspareunia is the name given for painful sex by doctors. It's essentially like diagnosis where they can say, yeah, we don't really know what it is, but we're going to call it dyspareunia because that basically means you can't have sex without pain. And now you have a diagnosis. Great. But there's different reasons under the umbrella of dyspareunia why you're having sex pain. Vestibulitis, vulvodynia, vaginismus, hysterectomy scars, childbirth scars, vulvar cancer, psychological scarring, muscle memory, like what I've got, this inability to control my sphincters and muscle control, which leads to spasms, which leads to pain, which leads to stabby nerve pain that instantly it's a turn off, and it's an aversion therapy to wanting to even get aroused, because you know if you get aroused you'll be in pain. Blood flow issues like Bartholin cyst is like a blood flow issue, because you have a cyst, say, around here, and it imposes on the blood flow issue, the blood flow, when you get aroused, certain tissue expands and gets erectile, fills up. But if you have a cyst there, or you have a calcification from a scar that's affecting the blood flow, you're going to get pain upon arousal. So you will feel like you are kicked by a donkey just when you are aroused, and that's really horrible, and I get that. It's like, my scar tissue is so old that it's calcified into little pearls, and it's blocked up some of the blood flow. They can't remove the pearls because they either have to electrolyze them to try and get them to get inflamed, and then the body can dissolve them, or they would cut them out, which would cut my nerves. So I have to live with it, right? Well, what if there's a way I can reprogram my nervous system through pleasure, which I haven't been able to get before? What if there's a way that I can stop my body from reacting and spasming? Because if my body reacts and spasms, this thing massages me on the outside and rewards me with pleasure instead of, what if it tells me that it's okay to cramp because you're not going to hurt yourself? So that's my thinking. I'm talking so much these days. 3 years ago, I couldn't talk. A year ago, I couldn't hold a conversation with anyone. It was too exhausting. Couldn't think. So much for mixing up silicone and painting today. I've been debulking all this time. The other ones, I think they're okay. It's just this one and the other one that I just debulked. So it'll be interesting because I've chosen to do the live stream through a syndication platform, which means that I can't see any comments coming in, but I'll be able to come back and read them later when I'm on the toilet or in the bathtub, or seeing what I can use from my footage to go into this campaign video I need to build, because I can't do any more of this on my own, and the trickle of sales that is coming in is good, but I need to recoup some of the debt that I put into this. So I'll be launching a kind of a Kickstarter campaign, but Kickstarter won't let me on their platform because it's this, right? So because of the nature of what it is, I can't post it on Kickstarter. So I'm looking for different platforms that will enable me to get funded, because I need to capitalize to enable me to be free to work instead of stressing. I need to, the deadlines come now. I've come down to the crunch where cash flow needs to happen. I'm in it now. I need to fulfill. I need to have the space of mind to continue to develop, because I've got so many other ideas that while I'm busy fulfilling, I can't develop new ideas. So I've got to juggle this work somehow to be able to continue to develop new ideas. and put more product out there as well as fulfill. And maybe if I can employ someone to help me, maybe that's what I need to do. So I just need to be capitalized right now. And I'm not looking for investors because I don't want to give up any of my business. I know what I'm doing. I just need to raise the funding. For an important personal project that will pay back the cost of getting patented and things like that, and the cost of development, because, you know, seriously, to develop something that's going to work with your pain, to help you overcome it, and be aesthetically a crutch to allowing you the mindset to not feel broken. It has to be, you know, it can't just be a clinical approach. It can't just be a standard thing. It has to be very personal. Who's going to do that? The only type of person that's going to do that is obviously someone with the experience of having pain all their lives, like me, and someone who's that nerdy and aggressive about solving the problem. And I figured, damn, I have to do it then, don't I? There's no one else that can do it. And there's no one else that's crazy enough to want to shove lemons in them to find out if this is, you know, possible. So there's a lot of self-experimentation, which wasn't entirely comfortable, and I didn't know it was against OnlyFans rules. I mean, I was surprised. I was like, wow, I managed to break OnlyFans rules? Get out of here. Yeah, they didn't like... I suppose they want to see everyone's having a good time, but for me it was like, ow, I got to experiment. I got to figure this out. We know more about outer space and black holes than we do about women's sexuality. It's not just an organ, it's an interaction of your whole body, because the organ itself is surrounded by every other organ, and that impacts on every other system in the body. And yeah. Ooh, this debulking just seems to go on forever. Anyway, I know that if I had been doing this on my own, I would just be bored. I would have to put on some music or something. But because I am documenting what I'm doing, I feel completely at ease talking to myself and reaffirming myself and finding the language to develop, to start towards, you know, pitching this idea out to people. Because I have to develop the language I need to communicate and educate people. And that's only going to come about with lots of feedback and lots of practice. And I'm really not very good at live fire audiences, so that's another reason why I've done this broadcast through syndication channel, because I find it very distracting when I see comments coming up, and then I have to sit and read them and look away from my work. And yeah, so I'll go back to that when I'm more confident in what I'm doing, rather than this experimental phase, because even though this is the final product going out, this is the first time that I've had to do everything at the same time and prepare these products for dispatch. So normally this wouldn't be a part of the process, because I wouldn't be making these kind of excessive overcompensation judgments in the molding process, where I put too much silicone in and have to debulk it. I tried doing a closed mold system, but the closed mold system caused more errors, because I can't see what's going on. I can't check if alignments are right. I can't pressurize it easily. I have to use these needles to pressurize it. or these catheter needles. So I was pressurizing it with these catheter needles, and the mold was flexible and it was still trampolining and causing bald spots. And I was like, ah, screw this. I have to go back to the other method I developed. But I've tried everything. So my voice is getting sore. I think on my Twitter profile, when I first started this, I updated my Twitter profile to say, I'm developing an LGBTQ product. Which is true, this is an LGBTQ product, it's for everyone. And I wanted to make sure that LGBTQ felt included. And LGBTQ is short enough to be a word on its own, but I googled the real meaning of LGBTQ and found that it has extended itself to LGBTQIAPK. And that just becomes a ridiculous mouthful now, and I'm like, I still consider this an LGBTQ product, but that doesn't help to educate people what this product is, because if I go around saying, oh, this is an LGBTQ product, women, the main audience, because it's a woman-centric product, get confused. They're like, I don't have a penis, I can't use it, because they think it's a fleshlight. I wish I had a penis, I could poke that, you know. But I have to change everyone's thinking over and over and over again. So I have moved away from this inclusive, gender-neutral language, because this is such a new idea and a new concept. It confuses my main target audience. And so I'm going to remain women-centric now, just because, you know, as a general rule of thumb, they are my biggest audience, and you know, that's what I'm focusing on. I'm a woman, I designed this for women, and it is an LGBTQ product. I am inclusive, but I can't dilute my language and cause confusion to my main audience. So that's had some interesting feedback. I did try it on a couple of my posts that went quite popular on social media, but it was just exhausting. The amount of women that wrote and said, I'm sorry, I'm stupid, I don't get what it is, I don't get how it's supposed to work. How is it supposed to help me? You know, is surely this is like for trans, not women, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, I went to gender neutral language and people start excluding themselves because it's made 10 times more effort for me to explain it. So I was like, okay, I've got to figure this out, because it is what it is. It's hard to explain to people who've never heard of the concept. I mean, sex toys are all phallic. They're all phallic, and but this was meant to be the art of sex as a protective sheath. I had women write to me complaining that I was calling them vagina owners. And I get that. I get that, because it feels almost dehumanizing and objectifying, which is something that women have suffered with all their lives. So to call people vagina owners was actually offensive to my main audience, because most of the people that are in pain are trauma survivors. They're traumatized. They're not sensitive, they're traumatized. And if you further dehumanize them by calling them vagina owners, it's tantamount to calling them an owner of a piece of meat. They are nothing but a piece of meat. And the pronoun of ownership, right, is offensive to women, because we've been treated as goods, as owned goods by men. So I feel this. I used the word vagina owners, uterus owners, and I was uncomfortable with it. It made me feel uncomfortable because I'm talking to a target audience that, like me, has been traumatized. Many of them have been abused, and it's just reminding them that they have this place in society as nothing more than a meat object. So I wanted to just stay away from that and just, no, women, you know? And women and uterati, because, you know, everyone wants to be included, but I can't put every definition out there of, you know, AFAB, AMAB, whatever. It just starts to get really confusing, because, you know, not all women know what all these terms mean. They're unaware of them. So you throw that out there and they think that you're not aiming at them. They think, oh, it must be for the LGBTQ crowd, not me, even though it's for all. It's for everyone. So, I mean, I also consider the couple as the target, the relationship as the target, because if you have a man who's afraid to harm his wife, who's afraid to hurt his wife, he will lose his interest in sex. And now you've got this sad diminishment of the lives they could have together, because he even can't be aroused or excited because he's afraid that he'll hurt his wife. So he'll start turning to things like Cialis or Viagra, or avoid it completely, and they both lose out. And that's sad. Another big problem is women often, if they've got this problem, they don't know how to articulate what makes them feel good. And this gives you a crutch. This gives you an opportunity to say what works. Whereas before, you don't know what works. So it helps to give you the language to start to articulate yourself, explain yourself better to your intimate partner. And it helps you to, you know, like a mask, a crutch, a starting point to start somewhere, you know. And if you can laugh because it's making squidgy alien noises, that's a massive start, because laughter heals, you know, and it should be fun. It should be like the adult version of kids playing, you know. But if you've lost that through years of emotional neglect, of assuming that you're unheard and that it's not going to work for you, you become emotionally withdrawn and avoidant of the whole topic, which is essential to your whole personality and health. I actually think a lot of my health issues were because of, indirectly, the pain I go through. Because in becoming an avoidant, anxiety-ridden, retentive, protective person, I'm holding a lot of stuff in me that needs to be catharsized and gotten out. And that is like a tension on the nervous system, a continual tension and pressure on the nervous system, in particular the autonomic system, which is probably dripping a lot of cortisol into the body, which builds up in the weakest areas of the body, for me, was my gut, my ability to go to the toilet. And if that inflammation stays there long enough, that is a pathway for cancer. It's a pathway for tumours. It's a pathway for the autoimmune system to lose its way and forget how to do its job. And it gets so used to the constant drip, drip, drip of stress and cortisol and build-up of inflammation that it will manifest into disease. And I think this whole sexual issue has been a major cause of the severity of my illness in my life. So I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. It feels connected to me. And another reason why I'm talking so much is because I know that YouTube is going to transcribe this, and I'll have a huge script and I'll be able to work with it and publish something from it. I need to sort of publish my thoughts to, further advocate not just what I'm doing, but for other people to bring this topic onto the table, to get clinical recognition. If this receives clinical recognition and has clinical value, then it could potentially change the way medicine and healing and wellness is applied in a more prophylactic manner. It could be more integrated with the whole body and mind thing. At the moment, medicine is just a recipe list. It's like, first we find you a label, we diagnose you, and then we find out if there's a recipe book for hitting it. But, as we all know, illness and symptoms and signs are not the cause of chronic conditions. Illness, symptoms and signs are all a differential picture of the overall health of your body and mind. So while I'm talking to myself like this, I start to build a vocabulary of words that I can use in my own writings, my own publications. Blah, blah, blah. I think it'd be really cool if I actually developed a TED Talk. I wouldn't mind doing that. I think that might be helpful to people. If I was to give them a new perspective of thinking, using the experience that I've been through and combined with my skills to figure out the meaning in all of this, really. Way too much debulking. I won't be doing this on other products because hopefully I should pull them from the mold without having to do all of this. I mean, the whole reason why this is overloaded with rubber, which is making the whole product too stiff in my opinion, is that the machine stopped working. Ouch, just stabbed my thumb again. My thumb is full of stab marks. It was bleeding yesterday, not good. I had to stop because I thought I can't wear gloves anymore. I'm getting infections from the constant sweat and stuff and the antibacterial creams and the dermatitis. Oh my God. So, where was I? Oh, I forgot. I'm talking a lot to myself these days. Oh yeah, slumping. So yeah, when the rotocaster breaks down, and the rotocaster is supposed to keep it turning constantly so that you don't get slumping, so that you don't end up with these thick parts and the whole thing is nice and thin all the way around. But then the machine breaks down and it all slumps into the middle, and I end up with this really thick ring that stops the vestibule from opening up properly to engulf phallic objects. So I have to debulk it to thin it down to make it stretchy again. That won't happen from now on because I finally fixed my rotocaster. Every time I fixed it, I was like, I fixed it, I've done it, it's going to work again, and then it will break down again the next day. So I've learned a lot with this machine. I've replaced the motor twice, burned the motor out twice. I've replaced the couplings, and then I stripped the threads on the axle, which caused the couplings to be too slack, which caused the axle to be non-concentric, so it was kind of rotating like this, and it was going every time it cranked over 1 revolution, and that put some wear and tear on the bearings in the machine and messed it up even more. And then the coupling failed, so the grub screw failed. So I went back to the old coupling, bored it out, reamed it out with my Dremel, and then drilled a hole through the shaft so that I could literally pin it right through, and then it wouldn't slip or do this or whatever. So I've really kind of botched it together. I even adjusted the height of the motor axle so that with popsicle sticks, so that the pulley that's attached to the main machine, like this distance apart, is constant, because if the motor was like just shimmed, if it wasn't shimmed by just like 2 millimeters, the pulley was too tight on one side of the revolution and then slack on the other side, so I had to tighten it all up and I had to shim it with popsicle sticks. And I'm honestly rubbish at things like spanners and screwdrivers because I don't have the wrist strength. I can do handstands all day, but I can't do this stuff. So I'm just useless at tools. I know what I want to do, but I just don't have the strength to turn them. So I'm like grabbing the screwdriver with pliers and using it as a lever to turn it. It took like 10 times as long to get anything done, and my machine was giving me such a headache because I had to figure it out. I had no choice. It was like, I've got to make this work. And it took me 2 weeks to figure out my machine. It took me a load of delays because I was ordering parts off Amazon, because I call up Grainger and say, have you got a coupling? I need a 8 to 7 millimeter coupling. And they'd be like, it's $92. I'm like, fuck. I'm not spending $92 on a collar that I can just bore out myself from an old coupling, so I'll just do that. $92 for a coupling should be like $7. So I've been ordering bits and pieces off Amazon to try and stock up on repair bits for the machines, and that was like more delay than I wanted. But now I think I've got everything. Oh no, I still need to order a new screwdriver set, and I need to order some more silicone wires because yeah, my wiring is very messy and ugly. I'm rubbish at soldering. Never used to be. I'm sure I was more accurate than that, but so my kitchen is now a whole science lab. And no cooking happens in here. No cooking. No cooking. It's all, if I have to eat, I go upstairs and I cook food on a hot plate in the living room. I live like a student because I've taken over the kitchen quick look at my kitchen. Right, ready for this? Look at that mess. This is my kitchen, and over here, like buckets of resin and my kitchen is, yeah, totally repurposed. So right now I am just chilling and I'm doing this, but it's not very productive. I would not be doing this on products on a daily basis to churn out, because this would just be losing money. I can't spend 4 hours on every Medusa. And then people say, oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. Sorry, it is what it is. It's not just a piece of rubber, it's a functional device that took me 8 months to develop and a lot of pain. I put my heart and soul into it. It is what it is, and I'm probably undercharging for what it should be, but I don't want to make this inaccessible. Yes, it has taken me a long time to put together, but I will be working on ways to make this more, more productive, so that eventually I can bring the cost down, but they won't go down by much. It will always be, you know, an artisanal piece of work. But that's why I need the funding. I'm gonna build this campaign, which is why I'm doing the filming, because I'm practicing and learning and finding words to express myself. And I'll take the script and see what works and see if I can condense it down to a 3-minute campaign video and launch this funding campaign, because I really need to reap back some of the debts that I have put into this in order to be a bit more free in my mind to just enjoy making. Because right now I'm sort of balancing the stress between getting these orders out and managing the business, and it's really not helping my health. However, I am really proud of the improvement I've made since the surgery. I can't believe it. I was not expecting surgery to happen. I got the cancer marker in my blood show up 3 months ago. I didn't know what it meant, but it was bad because it said, you know, pancreatic cancer marker, and I was just like, shit. What I know about pancreatic cancer is bad. Pancreatic cancer is nearly a slate wiper, and it's bad news, and I have a marker in my blood, and I don't know what this means. I don't know how long I've got. I don't know if I'll be able to fight this, but like shit, basically. And I didn't even know how to react. And it took me 3 months to get through the system of all the testing and the radiology. And then they just took it out. Unexpectedly, because they couldn't find it. They were like, it's not showing on the CT scans. You don't have cancer. You're going to be all right. You don't have cancer. One adenoma later, one abnormal adenoma later, I came around from surgery and I was too groggy to remember everything that he said, but he poked me in the chest and he said, I've removed it from there. Right? I was like, oh, that's where I've been feeling all the discomfort. Yeah. So, and that's all I remembered. And then when I had the follow-up call, which happened like 2 weeks after surgery or something, just, was it yesterday or the day before? that he'd removed a large abnormal tumor. I was like, oh, okay. What does that mean? Will it come back? We don't know. It's rare. It shouldn't come back because it's rare. But now you're on a watch list and you have to be assessed regularly. So actually, I'm going to put this experience in the pancreatic group on Facebook, because there's a lot of people suffering in there who don't know how to advocate for themselves, who basically say, I've been telling the doctor I've been in this discomfort all this time and no one's listened to me. And I've learned so much from this experience of going through the system and actually being validated, having a tumour removed, that I think it's necessary for me to go in and let people know they have to get to the bottom of it, because it's not going to show on a CT scan. You have to be a better patient and fire your doctor if you have to and go elsewhere, but you know what your own body feels like if you're feeling unwell. Don't let them deny it. It's the same thing I've had all my life with sexual pain. And I realised then, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm actually frustrated because I realise now that I've been through all these surgeries. Technically, without medicine, I should be dead, right? I've been through all these surgeries and I should be dead, or at least I would be dead by now if not disabled, right? All of those have been a struggle to get through. All of those have been me pressuring constantly again and again, going back and admitting and saying, sorry, I'm being a pest, but this is still happening, that's still happening. And I realise now that I'm too apologetic. My personality is, I don't want to be a pest. I don't want anyone to be offended or upset. So I say less, and I get used to not being heard. And I treat not being heard as the normal when warning signs are clearly there. And I think that is also very heavily ingrained and programmed into our sexuality, how we behave around our sexuality. If you feel closeted, if you feel like you have to hide something, this hiding something isn't something that you can switch on and off on different topics. It becomes all of you in every other aspect of your life, you know? So I think having realised this, I've become a bit more aggressive with what I want, and more selfish with what I want. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think people use words and put them in context. They assume things like having pride is similar to being arrogant, and they put pride in a negative light. That's an example. And what I'm saying is being more aggressive, being more selfish can be good for training your personality to become more assertive and an advocate for yourself, being more of an advocate for yourself in order to get the right ears listening to you, because people will ignore you, they will dismiss you. But if you're going there for help, you need to advocate for yourself. And some of that you don't have the language for, because you don't know how to articulate. If you say to a doctor you're in pain, their answer is where, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? So if I say it's somewhere down there, it could be on the left side or it's sometimes on the right side, and it's up inside a little bit like 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and you know, about a finger deep. They can't relate to that. And they're like, well, how does it affect your life? And I'm like, well, I'm not in pain now. oh, it's not bad then. It's like, no, only when I try and get sexy time. Well, how often is that? How often is it, you know? And it's like, really? If I didn't have this barrier, would I be thinking about how many times I get sexy time a month? A month, you know? Talking about something that should be part of our daily lives. And I'm thinking it in terms of a month. So I'm like, So I think we do have to start learning to find words to express ourselves better, and the meaning of words is really important. Like, just as this horrible example I'm giving now, and you're gonna hate me for it, LGBTQ, LGBT, LGB as it used to be years ago, decades ago. And now it's a mouthful and it's confusing because no one knows what it means. It's like, you know, just use the flag, use the rainbow. But now you've got people fighting on different sides of the rainbow. You've got gay people saying that trans are making LGBTQ look bad. You've got, you know, it's crazy. It's like there's almost like this infighting between different sects of the LGBTQIAPQ, PK. And you're all feeling excluded, diminished, dehumanized. You're all feeling it. So get rid of the label. Just get rid of it. I don't think it's helping now. I think it's actually gotten more confusing. I think if you want to be accepted, it needs to start, first of all, with inner confidence that you're okay just being as you are. Just doesn't matter what people... You could be like David Bowie. What did he embody? He wasn't trans. He was a man. He was as masculine a man. And I freaking loved him because at the time I fell in love with him, I didn't know he was a singer. He was just this dead hot goblin king. And I loved the fact that he was wearing makeup, and, you know, to me, he was more than a man. He was the embodiment of all of everything that you could be, artistically, beautifully, creatively, and he was just a beautiful human being. And same as Boy George, that was another one. And I didn't know in those days about things like gay, lesbianism. I didn't know any of that. And the first time I learned about gay and gay stuff is with the HIV thing that was publicized on the news. It was like public broadcast, use a condom or else you will die kind of thing on the public information broadcasts. You know, they were like scary adverts. They weren't adverts. And I was young at the time. And I remember thinking, I know that they were targeting the gay community and saying it almost like it wasn't applicable to hetero people. And I didn't understand it. And I knew that was creating a lot of fear and distrust between people. Oh yeah, the first time I heard about it was when Freddie Mercury died, and as a tribute in our school we had to do a Freddie Mercury thing. I don't know what it was. Some song on stage, some song and dance, I don't know. And I didn't know what he stood for. I had to learn. That's when I learned about AIDS and HIV and gay, and I was like, okay, what has that got to do with a dentist giving you AIDS? Because apparently if they don't switch their equipment, they can knowingly give you HIV. So that's kind of the feeling I have with this whole rainbow flag thing. I don't I don't want to subscribe to categorizing myself. That's all. I just want to be recognized as being a person, and it doesn't matter my gender, my orientation, what I'm attracted to, because it's none of anyone's business. It shouldn't be anyone's business, but it's very true that if I put a resume and I submit it as a woman, that I won't get the job, you know. And I have been through this. I've been through, because I have an aerospace degree, which is very male dominated, and I did the degree because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and my science teacher was like, "You're so good at science, you're so intelligent," and I was getting straight A's for like every subject, and I didn't know what to do because I was like good at everything, but I didn't enjoy anything. I just enjoyed learning. And she said, "You've got to be an engineer. There are so few women in engineering that it's a sure bet you'll get a job." What she didn't know, and what she didn't tell me, and what I didn't know, was that after all of that studying and investment in 4 years of a degree, the workplace was shit. You know, it's like, I really don't want to be in engineering. It's full of shit people and shit attitudes, and people are just nasty, and they're bullying, and what's all this crap about conforming and hiding yourself and fitting in? And because I can't fit in, and I don't even want to try to now. I've given up. I don't hide my weirdness. I'm just weird, and I don't care. The last job I had, which I got pushed out of from bullying, and they slashed my wages and accused me of different things, and I was the last one in, first one out kind of thing, and it was very unpleasant towards the end. I started realizing that they can't take me seriously, they won't take me seriously, because I have my butt hanging out of my skirt all the time, because I'm going around in mini skirts, and people think that that's because I'm getting attention because I love mini skirts, and that's the only reason why I got the job, which could be true, that the boss hired me because he wanted some skirt, and actually it was true, but it meant that everyone in the company would hate me, because they would feel like the only reason why I got the job was because I was wearing a skirt, and you know. So instead of blaming him, I got attacked, I got bullied for it, and he got away scot-free. But I ended up with the nervous breakdown and etc. Because this is the sort of paradox about thinking that you're asexual. When you think that you're asexual, for me, I thought, okay, if I'm asexual, then I can dress sexy because it doesn't apply to me. I'm not interested in sex anyway, you know. So I expressed myself very hypersexually. I became hypersexual in the workplace, which is uncomfortable for a lot of people around me. And and I've matured now, and I see that now, and it's like, what is appropriate or inappropriate in the workplace? Like, I wasn't able to read cues off people very well, and because I had a stupid upbringing where I was exposed to sexuality from too young, I didn't have the right gauges, if you like, in place for proper societal behaviour, because everything was normalised, everything on the extreme was normalised. So that, together with my weird personality, probably made me a ticking time bomb for just workplace disasters and doing everything wrong in the workplace. And I see that now. But I wish I had known it decades ago, because honestly, if someone had said to me years ago, "Oh, you're autistic," I'd be like, cool, I'm not going to work in the workplace anymore then. I'm just going to work for myself, away from people, where I don't have this stress, which is what I'm doing now. I would have had a less rich life maybe, I don't know, but I would be on the path of happiness faster. I'm on the path now. That's all that matters really. Right, that is nicely debulked, I think. Yeah, that's nicely debulked, so she's nice and stretchy now. So, I have spent way too long debulking this. Hopefully the others, I've got a batch of different colours over there I need to do. But I'm taking my time today because nothing's going to get shipped today now. So everything will get shipped Monday. So I've got all of today and tomorrow to finish, finish this work. I'll probably look at the videos and then go, oh my God. I hope that no one's listened. Ah, cool. That is really cool. I just found there's a whole layer in here where it slumped and overlapped the proper layer, so I cut down to the old layer before it got slumped over with the excess silicone, and it's pretty easy to fix actually. It's not like a problem, it's just functionally when it slumps, I have to cut it all out and then touch it up, smooth it out, touch it up, and that's the problem I want to avoid because it's too much work. I mean, obviously, if I can produce it correct in the first pass, that's better. Yeah. Slumping and bubbles is my worst enemy. So whenever the machine breaks down, everything starts slumping and I start panicking. I'm hoping now that I've fixed every possible issue that can go wrong with my machine. I won't be using the machine now for a few days because I'll get this batch out and then I'll start, ouch, pouring the next. Ooh. Okie dokie. I'm trimming her hymen. She's got a little seal in there. It's where the mold pieces join together, and there's like this bit of flashing where there is a slight gap in the tolerance between the two components of the mold, so the silicone seeps in and creates this little membrane at the join of the two pieces, which I have to trim out and then smooth off. It's like trimming out, like every alien comes with a hymen that I have to trim out. Right, here it comes. Let's get the micro scissors now, I need to get in deep. Oh boy. That. So now I have to just go in and don't know if you can see those little membranes on the inside. Just have to trim them. Right, I will go and mix some silicone up now. I don't know how long you're going to be with me. The battery's not going to run out because I've got it plugged in. But while I'm happy and busy, I'll just keep streaming because I don't know if I'll be able to use any of this footage in the campaign video. Cool. Well, once I burnish this one up, I'll go and get some silicone and start mixing the pigments so that I can paint all of these jobbies. I am so looking forward to getting these shipped out. I've spent way too long on these. This is ridiculous. I'll say to all the women that these are going to, all the people that have bought one, this is my baby. I've put so much work into this. Treat her well. And hopefully she'll help you. Right. When I finish, these will look really amazing because you won't see any drip marks or anything like that. When I paint them in, the touch up is like invisible. It doesn't look like it's been touched up. It looks like it's part of the piece, which is, yeah, it's the intention. It's not that it's touching up anything that's wrong. So, such a lot that I had to take off here. So obviously it got completely overloaded when I syringed in to the mold. So don't want to do that again. I need to make a cut right there. Right there. Oh, it'll be interesting for me to see actually when I go back. I did a video, was it yesterday? I think I was live streaming, and I looked at the YouTube statistics afterwards, just because I was in the YouTube studio, and they age restricted the video. They age restricted me sitting here trimming these. So apparently this is too taboo. I shouldn't be talking about it. So I just find it quite sad really that you can't talk about health issues without being disenfranchised. Because the age restricting, what does it actually mean? Yes, it means people have to be signed in to watch you, but it's in their mind, it's a warning. Don't do it, because we're going to demonetize you and potentially delete the video. And that keeps the stigma up in the community of what is acceptable to talk about or not. And it teaches everyone that the creator is the one at fault, is the one who is wrong, who is against the community guidelines. And this is what I'm up against all the time. I'm constantly in a different trajectory of thinking than the typical person. So I am always butting up against, I'm always causing disruption. And I realized this is part of my personality. I'm like that. It's also the way I think, because technically people think about certain rules and they go by them. Me, I always think, why are those rules there? Who are they there to protect? Or what are the rules for? How, for example, the rules of medicine is you go with a complaint, you describe symptoms, the doctor treats the symptoms and gives you a diagnosis. Me, I was thinking, if I know something's wrong inside me, there's no words for it. There is just a sort of intuition that whatever that came from was something else that I need to get fixed. For example, the first time I was really, really ill in hospital, I was puking bright green at the same time as green diarrhea. It's like both ends, bleh. And I was in so much pain that my brain stroked out on me, and I was like on one side of my face, and I was unable to think about anything. And they ambulatized me and took me to the hospital, and they didn't know what it was, so they diagnosed me as gastroenteritis from parasitical infection or whatever. and they put me on a dose, a regimen of 6 different drugs for, apparently I was in the hospital for over a week. I didn't realise that at the time, but yeah, apparently it was really touch and go, and they never found out what it was. They never found out what it was, but over the years, I'd gotten so used to these kind of troubles with my gut that I kind of worked around it, got used to it, found ways of coping with the pain, and I diminished it even to myself. But when I started thinking about it, I was like, that is the weakest spot in my body. Why is that, you know? It's like, is it emotionally connected? And how can it be emotionally connected? Because, you know, doctors, if they don't know anything, they will say it's psychosomatic. But to me, that isn't, they're in the right kind of direction, but it's actually because of the way we've been taught, and you know, our pedagogy is taught that everything is physical. And if you say to someone it's psychosomatic, it's almost an insult to them, because they don't understand the connection between body and mind. And when doctors brush you off with psychosomatic, they are brushing you off with psychosomatic because they just want to deal with the physical, and they have no intention of learning about the other side, about how that works together. So Chinese medicine has always been about the balance in the body of flow, and that is something that I intuitively felt, the flow in my body of like energy. And I didn't want to call it like energy science or energy healing, because it's something that I feel in place of understanding my emotions. So emotions to me are difficult to explain. I can't tell if I'm happy, excited, stressed, or whatever, but I get these sensations in my body, like a rock in my stomach, and I have to think about it. I have to go, is that because I'm suffering with indigestion or grief, or I am sick, or I've overeaten, or I'm hungry? Yeah, it could be any one of those things, a lump in my stomach. And I don't know if you've ever had a bawling, ugly crying session where you've actually got pain in your throat or in your stomach from crying. I can't tell the difference between that and being hungry or being indigestion. But I do get the sensations. I feel a lot, but I can't explain it. And I feel like a domino effect. If something happens here, I can feel it happening here. Like a domino effect, I feel the flow, the transfer of one causing another, like my spleen to start swelling up and squirting and doing whatever it's doing. And then I start to feel something down. It's really weird. So I feel a connection between all of the organs in my body, and I will do something really weird, like I'll come upstairs and go, oh, my liver hurts. My husband is like, what do you mean your liver hurts? I think I've bruised my liver. It really, it doesn't feel good right here. And like, he doesn't get that. And I think other people would be like, that's weird, you know. But if I get sensations, I will go to them and I will massage them out. And I'll be like, I need to get rid of that, and I'll massage it. And I thought that I bruised my liver from massaging it too hard. I went to the doctor. I was having trouble breathing because every time I breathed in, it was affecting my liver and it was really hurting. And he did a blood test and it came back with my liver was injured. And it was like, how do you injure your liver? I don't know, it was just hurting. Anyway, he said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. There's no medicines we can give you. You just have to let it heal. But your liver is a bit injured. So nothing to worry about. And I was like, weird, it feels all connected between here and here, like my pancreas and my liver. I didn't realise that was the pathway for this tumour to start growing, and it probably started growing 10 years ago when I had that green green vomit attack. So, yeah. I think maybe I have done enough on this. Yeah? Right? Right? I made a cut there, didn't I? Yeah, I need to make another cut here. Just there. Yeah, that's better. I think it's really funny that I was fired from every job I ever had. For various different reasons, I was fired or pushed out or left because I knew I was going to be fired anyway. I've always been disadvantaged like that, and I didn't know why. And I was always burning bridges because once I was fired from some place, it's like I couldn't look back, I couldn't deal with it. It was traumatizing and just really upsetting to think about. It just affected me so badly, like this last job. And so I ended up in this sort of mental breakdown, major depressive disorder, disposition. And I started thinking, I can't go on like this. I can't live like this anymore. What am I going to do? I feel useless. I feel I don't have any value, any place in society. What the hell am I going to do with my life? And just going on and on like this. And then I was having these instances where I was thinking, this is the end of my life. I've got nothing left to live for. I can't recover from this. I'm never going to recover from this. And I was once healthy and now I'm not, and it's very unlikely that I'm going to recover. So I thought to myself, if I know the end is coming, what will I do to make my life worth it? And I started thinking about sex and all the sex that I'd missed out on and all my sexuality that was damaged and libido that was damaged. And I started thinking it's not fair. I had a bit of an unfair card in life, a bit sad really. So I thought, oh, let's see if I can do something for myself. Just, there's nothing else, you know, I can't go back into work. Now the pandemic hit, so it was the perfect timing because it's like, I've got time out while I can't work anyway. So I was just gonna work on this, and it was for me. And what that did was, it gave me the focus and the drive I needed to somehow fight back against the depression that was affecting my whole body and immune system. Because my depression was not, it was causing me to be sluggish in many ways. It was like the energy was so down that I couldn't respond, react, or hold attention for long enough on anything. And it was just allowing this buildup of bad shit. And just giving myself this project and having the goal to do this project, forcing me to do the research and the planning, as well as the catharsis of doing the art and celebrating what I thought I had lost. Brought my speech back, it brought my brain back, I started to be able to articulate my feelings. I came back, and like a year ago I couldn't talk, and now I'm like Radio Juliana. And so something changed in me. And the irony is, right, I've been fired from every job, pushed out, or for whatever reason, and I always thought that was because I was a woman, and I hated womanhood because of it. I felt that things were unfair, and I hated men for it. I blamed men for it. I blamed the patriarchal system for it. And just being fixated on that was negative enough to pull me down. And now I am so happy, I'm so relieved, and I'm healing. I'm overcoming this tumor. I'm overcoming speech. I'm getting my thinking processes back. I'm feeling more like a whole human being. And the funniest thing is, I'm doing sex toys. Like, that is so freaking cool, because in the workplace, I was always sexualized, objectified, bullied, and attacked for being a girl, you know, in a short skirt. And now I am selling sex toys. And the funniest thing about this is this business has so much more potential than the businesses I worked for. And they were turning over like maybe 3 million in a year. And I have the potential with just one person to turn over 1.9 million in a year. Just me. If I employ someone else, I could go a lot further. I'm like, this gives me so much satisfaction. It's like revenge, but not taking it out on anyone. It's just like I can look back and laugh at all the struggle, at all the stupid like men that were telling me to do things the corporate way of doing things, and I'm like, you know what, I am doing things completely the opposite of you. I don't give a shit. I'm helping myself, and I hope that I help hundreds of other women or other people to engage their better selves, a closer version of their true selves. And I'm going to laugh my way to the bank while you stress your way to the bank and employees for not making you enough money. I really hope that I can employ someone and give them a nurturing environment to grow as I have grown in the last year. Because like, this feels amazing. I did not believe that I could be in this position a year ago. I thought my life was done. I thought I'm 43, 44, and there's no hope for me, no career left. I can't return to the workforce. I'm, you know, and now I feel like a valid member of society, contributing and helping others, and hoping that one day I can nurture others along a similar path and show people the compassion they need and demonstrate it to the medical system that we need to be clinically recognized. Our pain needs to be clinically recognized and supported, you know? That's just fucking hilarious. I was escorted out of one job, hosting company, InMotion Hosting, used to do their marketing for them. They had what Corporate 101 has is KPIs, and if you don't meet your KPIs, they drag you down. They just, you know, everyone's punitive. If you don't meet this, it's punitive measures, punishing. And I didn't feel it was right because I was always doing my best. But if I didn't reach the KPIs, they wanted a reason to punish you. I'm surprised they don't have a reward system. Nobody seems to have a reward system where if you do this and you gain more for the company, will reward you and give you more. But no. So anyway, they escorted me out of the company on the day that I was fired. They wanted it to be humiliating. They wanted it to be a message to everyone else. I was rudely escorted off. And you know what I'd done wrong? I was unhappy in the job, so I posted a website. I built a website to work for myself and start looking for jobs, looking for gigs out there. And I was putting business cards out in Starbucks to get extra work for myself on the side so that I could transition and leave the company. And they saw the website and they said, that's not allowed. You're not allowed to offer marketing services to anyone else other than us because we're employing you. So this is bad. We're gonna fire you now. No warnings, nothing, just get rid of you. And they got the security guards and escorted me away from my desk. And I was stunned. I was traumatized, and I applied for unemployment assistance. And I was so shocked. My reaction when I'm scared, shocked, hurt, frightened is to laugh. I laugh at everything. And I called up the unemployment offices, whatever they call them, and they were like, so you broke their rules by looking for other work? And I went, yeah. And she went, are you laughing? And I was like, no. And she went, you don't take this seriously, and because you don't take this seriously and you think this is a joke, we're not going to support you. So I was not only fired, but I was left without unemployment benefits. So I was in a really terrible state. And they wanted it because they were like, you're not a loyal enough robot for us if you're offering work elsewhere, even on the side, to try and, you're not a loyal robot, so we'll just get rid of you. Everyone's disposable. And so that's what InMotion Hosting did to me. And technically, I think that's illegal. But I was new in the country and I didn't know my rights, and I felt pretty uncomfortable in myself. I always feel like I always go to, what have I done wrong? What did I do wrong? I always feel like it's my fault. So that was some severe trauma I had to overcome. I was fired for being pregnant. I took on a job. I threw up at work, and they were like, why are you throwing up? Are you ill? Oh, no, I'm pregnant, actually. And they were like, they took me into the office at the back, and they fired me. And they told me to take my stuff and go. Yeah. But you didn't tell us you were pregnant. It was like, did I have to? Do I have to tell people I'm pregnant? It's like, well, you didn't tell us, so, we have to let you go. The last job, I wasn't exactly fired from. I was pushed down so much that I had to get out of there. But it was an awful situation. It was the most traumatizing that I had been through. So I had emigrated out of my own pocket. I had paid to take this job in Austria. So I had paid for my flight. I had paid for all the container to get all my stuff over there. I'd sold the car, got rid of the house, and I moved there off my own pocket. There was no moving bonus or anything to help me, and I took this job at a lower wage than what I was worth with my experience, because it was a way back into the industry that I was trained for. So I took this job, and of course the boss only gave me the job because I had a skirt. And even though I wanted to deny that, that is the truth. Because I didn't believe I was worth going back into the industry anymore that I'd trained in, because I lacked the experience to bring to any company. So I was starting at the sort of bottom level, and I wasn't introduced to anyone in the company as being someone strategic for the benefit of the company. They didn't know why I was there. They didn't know why the boss had chosen to employ a foreigner over some Austrian. People didn't like me, and I was not supported. I was left alone, and they slashed my wages in half. So I'm in a new country, I've got huge debt, I've got a house that I can no longer afford to pay rent on because they'd slashed my salary in half. And they slashed my salary in half because I did some things at work that were inappropriate, because I have, you know, mental issues, personality issues, whatever. And they didn't believe it. I didn't have an ROI, a return on investment, but they believed I didn't meet my KPIs, my key performance indicators. So they slashed my wages. They slashed it in half. And I was already at this point, because of the bullying, the mobbing at work, and the sexual harassment, I was already at this point pretty burned out, suffering, and unable to look after myself and defend myself. And then I realised I was trapped in this foreign country with no way out, and if I lost this job, I would have to leave the country, but there would be no other job for me there if I lost the job. And I couldn't afford to move back because I had like $40,000 debt for emigrating to a job that I had invested in their company for, paid to be a part of their company for. So they're going to be all right, whatever. You know, they can lose an employee, doesn't matter, they'll still be the company. But me, I felt like I had lost my life. So that was the kind of stress I was under. And I had to get out. And I admit I did some things wrong, but I was completely unsupported over there. I had to learn German in a year. I was bullied. It was an awful experience, absolutely awful. And I managed to get out of there, but it took a lot out of me. So after I got out, I went into hiding for 3 years, away from people. And then the pandemic happened, so most of that time no one noticed I was gone. I really must stop this constant trimming and get on with it. Haha. Still a really thick part there. Must try to. Oh dear, I can hear Bunny upstairs, Diggy Scratchy. He's upset. I'll have to go up and comfort him. I was looking forward on getting started with this, but I have to deal with Bunny. He's so needy. He doesn't like it when I spend too long in my workshop. I shared breakfast with him this morning. He always has to dive into my cereal bowl. I know it's not good for them, but I think it's more the ritual that he wants. He wants to show me that he's the man of the house and he gets dibs on everything I eat. Yeah, maybe that's just him. He doesn't really eat a lot. It's just that he has to invade every bowl I bring to the sofa. Doesn't matter whether it's ice cream or pumpkin pie, he'll just dive in and eat it. And the other one doesn't do it, and she's the girl, but she doesn't do that. They actually don't like it when I leave the room for any long period of time. They get really crabby. And instead of greeting you like a dog does when you come home, come through the door, and you get all waggy tails, I get attitude. So I walk up through the door and I know he's unhappy, he's missing me. And he'll just have a temper. And like, why did you leave me? You know? He's like an arrogant bunny. It's just because he's so needy. But it's funny because he has this look on his face and a staunch that's really pissed off. He's a very disapproving bunny. He disapproves of a lot. Disapproving bunny. Yes, so true. Disapproving bunny. Dear me. Oops. Damn, I have spent way too long on this. Burnish. this out. Oh, this one needs hardly any work. Awesome. That's the way it should be. I'm just preparing the surfaces for painting because where I've been trimming, I want to smooth it all out so that it looks completely smooth, no trim lines or anything. And then, so I'll put a layer of silicone that's gelled, and then it tends to smooth itself out all by itself, so there's no brush marks or anything like that in it. So this one hardly needs any work as well, so that's good. I have to burnish the surface to make sure that on a microscopic level the silicone can bond, and it can only bond if the surface is burnished. So it can't be shiny, otherwise it's delaminates. So I have to just burnish everything down a bit, dull it up, create micro tears in effect in the surface, create micro tears that offer mechanical adhesion with the silicone, so that it won't ever peel off or, delaminate. And then, oh, this one doesn't need any. Oh wow. Just at the join. Okay. Nice. So there you go. I am ready to mix up paint now and start doing them all. So these are all the same color palette, but they all come out slightly different depending on the flow rate or the different viscosities of, they're all the same color palette, but they do have quite a bit of difference in them. That one's kind of more silvery and the light's actually too bright, it's blowing it out, but it's actually more metallic than this one. And yeah, so in this you can see the lacing of the different colour, like marbling effect, but it's better than marbling. It's got like veins in it, colour veins. Okay, right, I'm gonna take those, wash those off. I've been, oh holy crap, I've been broadcasting for nearly 4 hours, so I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take a break, get something to eat, comfort Bunny, and then come down and paint.